o'clock, so I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Ms. Murdoch, the roll call, please.
Mr. Cordray?
Here.
Mr. Sousa?
Here. All right, if you would please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You gotta suck at everything tonight. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve of the clerk's journal and accept the audio and video recording as the official minutes of the September 3rd Board of Trustees regular meeting.
Second.
Mr. Sousa?
Yes.
Mr. Cordray?
Yes. I'll make a motion to approve the bills as presented before the board tonight.
Second.
Mr. Sousa?
Yes.
Mr. Cordray?
Yes.
Several here.
Oh, I always signed the wrong spot. Sorry. I'm used to being a lot closer. All right, with that, I'll go ahead and open up the floor to public comments at 6:01 p.m. All right, seeing no one approaching, I will go ahead and close the floor to public comments. Looks like we do have one presentation tonight. Looks like an update with regards to our Public Works building. Mr. Wright.
Thanks, Mr. Cordray. I'll set the stage real quickly. Every couple of months, we have brought an update back to the Board of Trustees for the Public Works Replacement Facility. Tonight, Nick Romer, who represents Conger Construction, is going to be one of the leads on the project. We've been working with him since January. And then also here tonight is Randy Merrill. You've met Randy a few times. He's the lead architect for McGill Smith Puncheon on the project. Nick's going to talk about some of the additions and exclusions, some of Conger's end on how we got here. A quick recap is we had 6 different construction companies last winter put in their proposals for the project. We vetted them, interviewed 4. We selected Conger Construction. In January, you named them our CMR. We've been working since January with them and MSP on the design. In June, we did our first guaranteed maximum price. That was so that we could beat the increase in some steel prices and allowed Conger to go ahead and order the prefabricated steel building. Since June, Conger, Mr. Pelfrey, and I and others have worked on the final design. And so Nick's team is ready to, we broke ground the other day symbolically, and Nick will tell us where we're at in that process and what we can anticipate.
Well, Jeff, you didn't leave me very much to say there.
I'm known for that, I'm sorry.
No, the CMR process, or construction manager at risk process, is a proven winner for any municipality, any organization. Working with Mr. Wright and Mr. Pelfrey, along with Randy's team, it's been tremendous what we've achieved. And we've done this in a little bit of a hybrid manner too. We've brought in the mechanical contractors and did a design build there, so they are on the hook for that. But it was thoroughly vetted with their engineers and then also Randy's engineers as well. So you're getting a high quality building that'll service the township for decades to come. And you know, Don's guys, I mean, they're the backbone of keeping things running around here. So we want to make sure you have a high performing building that is also aesthetically pleasing, which will fit in with your campus here. We've reached the point now where we're ready to enter into the second GMP. The township's budget was $7.5 million, and I'm happy to report we've hit it. We have, however, gone over by $169,000. But however, built into that number is almost $700,000 worth of contingencies and allowances to cover any unknown expenses. We have $300,000 worth of owner contingency in there for Don to use if he so pleases. If not, all those funds are 100% returned back to the township. So at the end of the day, if those funds aren't used, you'll be well below the 7.5. So.
No more changes, Don.
Yeah, no more changes. No, honestly, it's worked really great because we've been able to work through several value management exercises to see what's going to work best. Don buying the generator himself has been a huge savings versus going through us. I mean, we're a business. We have to make money. We have to have a little bit of markup on it. Don buying it directly saves the township considerable amount of money because we don't have our markup on it. Our electrical contractor still takes care of all the work of installing it. So working through a lot of value management has really helped get us to this point. So, any questions?
No, I don't. I just wanted, Mr. Wright, if we would just follow up. I know just because it was mentioned, obviously the piece with regards to the cost is how much does the township have had saved up over the years to put down on this building?
We are able to put down approximately 1/3 of the cost, and that would include all of the architectural and engineering fees. We are only our debt service was less than 2/3. So we have saved over $2 million over the last several years to get to this point, so that we're borrowing under 65% or so. So that I know that took 3 or 4 years of concerted effort, and so I appreciate the board teed it up. I appreciate Don and his team of living to that. So probably closer to $2.5 million is what the township has saved intentionally to reduce the amount borrowed, and so that it doesn't impact any of our other services.
Great. Yeah, and I just wanted to point that out. I just think it's important because I know one of the big things talked about these days is property taxes, and one of the things that's always been brought up is with Hamilton Township is at times we've ran, I'd say what they call high amount of what do they call it? The overage within our budget, and this is one of those times where we did it intentionally because we knew this was a project that was needed for our township. Again, this is going to not only benefit our township to have this building, but just from a finance standpoint, the responsibility, we're not going to be paying interest on that third that we're going to be putting down towards that building.
Yeah, that's right. You've saved 5.5% interest over the length of the debt for this. So yes, having saved up those $2.5 million has saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest payments that aren't necessary. So it was a tremendous savings.
Great, thank you. And the word I was thinking of was carryover. That was the word of the day. But,
Yeah, and I would just, go ahead.
no, I'm just going to ask you.
I just applaud you and Jeff and Don, and this is a big number. I mean, it's the largest spend in the history of the township. It's crazy what costs have done just from this point on the fire station, but these guys have been extremely thorough, and your parties as well. Like Jeff and I were just speaking today, there's about 10% of that maximum potential number is various contingencies, and Jeff and Don are pretty confident that we'll realize little to any of that. We've gotten some good news this week from ODOT on traffic impact, and not belaboring us with road costs and deceleration
For
lanes
example,
and
I'm working with
things
Goshen
like that.
Township on
So
their fire station.
yeah, but I mean, so far,
$4
yeah,
million.
soil samples and traffic impacts and things have been kind to us so far in the project, and you guys have been extremely thorough, and hopefully once we formally really start moving some dirt and going there, that'll pay off. So I believe it will. And to Daryl's point, I mean, we have the $5 million bond issuance, so we'll probably earn a low six-figure number on interest while we have those monies before we start paying out draws as well. And it's nice to be able to make an expenditure this size and know that the funds of the Public Works Department are ones that see more substantial increases over time with inside millage, but we'll have substantial debt service for the period of the payback, but we didn't have to seek any new taxpayer revenues or funds to do this project. So that's big.
It's probably worth noting along those lines both of you, the trustees made. I also would want to remind our residents the few-year-old, the newer road levy that was passed by a majority of our residents that we're now able to pave, plus it's over $1 million in paving every year. Those funds are sequestered completely for the annual road repaving, the milling and paving of township roads. None of those levy funds were part of the down payment, nor will they pay for the principal and interest for this building. So it will still be able to provide the same amount of road repaving as we have the last 6 or 7 years. None of those funds are expended on this project.
No, I just want to say, appreciate the partnership with MSP, appreciate the partnership with Concord Construction. I know we're all, I think, really excited to see the end result and wish we were opening this thing up probably at the end of the year. I know that'd be a tough ask, but no, again, we just appreciate the partnership and looking forward to our new building here next year.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
I have a quick question, Jeff. And I think we talked about this, but when everything goes out to bid, like on this pricing recap, is that something we decide on who is, for instance, going to be used for concrete or metals, or is that something their group does?
It was generally by them because they have a lot of experience with them, but there was, I can think of one, one of the subs was a company I had when I was at another community building a similar size building. I didn't have a great experience, so I was able to tell MSP and Congress specifically, I do not want Hamilton Township to use that sub. It was 8 or 9 years ago, but I remember it vividly. So best way to answer your question is they vetted them first, and then they shared it with Mr. Pelfrey. So if we had experience or intelligence that one would not work out, we were able we had complete veto power. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know all of the firms on there, but a few, and I don't want to sound negative, there were several firms that I was familiar with that I either had a good experience or I've heard others. So we used our veto power once or twice.
Okay. And they've already been decided, it sounds like?
I believe, I would go to Nick in case that's not 100%. We've had a lot of discussions with them. It probably is to have this certainty.
They're pretty certain, but
Yeah.
we're still going to vet a few more out.
Okay. That was all.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. With that, we will go ahead and move forward with new business. First item we have on the agenda is with regards to reconciliation of the fund levy. And this, I'll let Mr. Wright speak to this, or Mr. Pelfrey, if you want to speak to the need for the reconciliation.
Yeah, it was. This is something that Mr. Pelfrey has asked, and I appreciate Ellen working on. It was simply to adjust. We've received the final bill from this year's repaving contractor, and so it was anticipated. And now that we're about to receive our second half tax receipts from the county, this will reconcile so that we'll use we're going to receive those funds any day now, I think yet this week. So it's just so we can pay that paving contractor for the work they just completed.
Gotcha. All right. Any questions?
Nope. Good.
One quick question. Sure. And maybe I've just not recognized this before, but why does it have the word emergency, declaring an emergency in the resolution?
That's so that we don't have to wait on a 30-day referendum period. It's because with this case, it's a six-figure invoice we've received, and we would like to pay. We want to be in good standing with that. There's only two main contractors of paving in the region, and it's so that we can get that big invoice.
So this is just normal language for the resolution?
That's correct. I've
Okay.
seen that throughout townships in this area.
Okay, I was just curious.
Sure.
It's not an emergency in the sense like, oh my gosh, it's an emergency, but yeah, just so we can move things along.
Yeah.
And it has to be unanimously approved by the board. So if it were for some reason to be a 2-to-1 vote, if all three of us were here,
Yeah,
then we would have to go through a second and third reading.
okay.
All right. With that, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve Resolution 25-0917A, a resolution approving an increase in township appropriations in the road levy fund to reconcile budgets for the calendar year 2025 and declaring an emergency.
Second.
Mr. Cordray?
Yes.
Mr. Sousa?
Yes.
All right, next item is one that we get almost every 2 weeks now. This is a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the private sale of unneeded and unfit for use property within the police department. It looks like there's 3 vehicles listed for this one, all listed not to exceed a value of $2,500 on each. Any questions, comments?
Nope.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 0903B, a resolution authorizing the private sale of unneeded and unfit for use property in the police department.
Second.
Mr. Sousa?
Yes.
Mr. Cordray?
Yes. All right, next item for consideration is a motion to request a speed study at on Harrison Road in Hamilton Township. And if Mr. Wright or Mr. Pelfrey would like to speak to that, or?
Sure, this is something that we have every couple of years. This was a resident-initiated request, so a resident of Harrison Road reached out to the county engineer's office. They got in contact with Don. Unfortunately, since townships don't get treated the same as cities in Ohio, it's a bit of a bureaucratic process. Residents makes requests. This board would have to pass this resolution. It goes to Warren County Engineer's office. They then formally make a request to ODOT to review and decide on the study. A study would be, there will be a counter out there with intelligence. What's the median speed of the vehicles, different times of the day? What's the volume? They'll probably contact the Hamilton Township Police Department. They'll get the last 2 or 3 years worth of crashes, types of crashes. So it's a lot of engineering and analysis. But I always want to caution residents of any township street. There's at least 3 choices that ODOT in the Warren County Engineer's Office can come back with after they look at all of those factors. 1, they could lower it to the speed that the residents desire. 2, they may lower the speed, but not as low as the residents want. Or 3, they may not lower it at all. So any of our residents, and I hope more, watch these meetings over time. We can do this practice and make the request on behalf of the resident, but I just want to caution them or have them steel themselves that it doesn't always come out that way, because speed is something, and I'm sure Chief Hughes has talked about this numerous times. Speed is more subjective than you would think. So the engineers will put out the forms of measurement. State and county looks at it. So I wish it wasn't so bureaucratic, but that's the process we have.
So is the end goal then, they're looking to lower the speed limit through on?
That's
I believe
correct.
It's 45 miles an
40 or
hour.
45, right?
I believe it's 45.
Yeah, they actually requested 25, which there's no way they would ever lower it by that much. Typically, even if they do lower it on a road like that on a 45, it would be 5 miles an hour. And then it's the only other one that we've got passed on one of our roads here is Baxter Road. They lowered it by 5 miles, and it takes about a 1.5 year process time it goes through ODOT and everything. So.
Gotcha.
Who picks up the tab for the expense of the speed study?
That's all handled by Warren County Engineers Department. So Mike Ryan over there, he does their traffic engineer. He'll do the speed study and then submit that to, well, first he'll give it back to us, and then he'll submit it on to ODOT if we're fine with everything that his findings.
So they do it but they don't, because it's a township road, they don't pass then some sort of invoice on to us?
No, there's no cost to us whatsoever.
Just some signs in the end if they want us to lower it.
Yes, correct. That's all. Only cost we would incur is the signage to
Okay.
replace.
Any other questions, comments? All right, with that, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 25-0917C, a resolution requesting a speed study on Harrison Road by the Ohio Department of Transportation.
Second, sorry.
Mr. Sousa,
Yes.
Mr. Cordray?
Yes. All right, last item for consideration kind of parallels what we did with the presentation. It's a motion to approve, it's to approve a guaranteed maximum price, number 2, with Conger Construction Group as the construction manager at risk for the Township Public Works facilities. Mr. Wright, did you have anything more that we wanted to add with regards to our discussion before we?
No, I don't believe so. We anticipate the project will be finished in the 4th quarter of 2026.
Any other questions, comments with regards to this?
I do not.
All right, with that, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve Resolution 25-0917D, approving a guaranteed maximum price GMP number 2 with Conger Construction Group as the construction manager at risk for the Township Public Works facility.
Second.
Mr. Cordray?
Yes.
Mr. Sousa?
Yes.
All right. Next item we'll move on is to the motions. It looks like we do have some roster updates. Any questions, comments with regards to the roster updates?
I do not know.
All right. With that, make a motion to approve the amendments to the Hamilton Township roster as presented.
Second.
Mr. Cordray?
Yes.
Mr. Sousa?
Yes.
All right. With that, we will move forward with public comments, section number 2 at 6:19 p.m. If anybody would like to approach.
I usually come up Rusty Holman, 8031 Whalen Lane. I usually come up to talk about money. It's one of my favorite subjects, and there's no surprise in any of this. I took a look at the finances that came out for last month, for the month of July. And even after subtracting $5 million for the Public Works building, we still have over 19 million, almost $20 million in reserves for the township. Against $20 million in reserves, we have $18 million in appropriations. Now, you do a simple math, we have over a 12-month supply of money. And every time we talk to Matt Nolan, he says 6 months is a reasonable amount. So I'm suggesting that a portion of your time and effort as trustees needs to be spent in the pursuit of something that benefits the taxpayer. How do we get some money back for the money that we have paid in? It's not your money, it's our money.
Absolutely. And Mr. Holman, I would kind of challenge you on the 6 months comment from Mr. Nolan, because I'm in regular meetings with Mr. Nolan, and we've had many of conversations over the years, and he is, to your credit, the minimum 6 months, but 6 to 12 months is what he's come before this board and said 6 to 12 months as far as carryover is appropriate, depending on what the goals are of the township, what projects we're looking to do. And one of the other challenges that we have with that is just why we have some of that money stored up is, quite frankly, is Mounts Park. And when, back in 2016, when they went and uncapped that and created this basically domino effect where now we're dealing with the EPA on a $5 million project that we're seeking grants and whatnot for to mitigate the stormwater runoff issues and the garbage dump being exposed there at Mounts Park. So I don't think while I appreciate, I get it, property taxes are a big deal, especially right now. We've all experienced it. We've all experienced a big jump in property taxes over the last several years. But I think this township's position has been consistent as we're trying to be responsible in making sure we have everything taken care of, the amenities that we need, that the township residents expect and want. And I think we've shown that over the years by building the fire station, by building the public works building, by improving our parks, by investing in our police and fire. So I don't think we're just sitting on the money just for the sake of sitting on the money. We have projects that we're working on that overall will benefit this township long term.
You just proved my point. Thank you. Because my point is very simple. You guys look for creative ways to spend my money.
I don't think Mounts Park was not something this board created by any stretch. None of us were sitting here when the Mounts Park issue was created. None of us were here. And I don't think anybody in the township, if you were to go and evaluate the fire station when we were at Mainville, would argue and say that was a good space for our fire department in 2017, 2018. I think they would all agree that it's much better for our residents and for our firefighters to be in the building that they are today. And I would even say this public works building, given they're working out of the old administration building at Testerman Park right now. I think it would be a stretch for anybody to really say that should continue and that we don't need that public works building that we're building today.
Darrell, you just continue to prove my point. Okay? I made my point. Thank you.
Good. I have something that's pretty timely that we brought up, or Rusty brought up Matt Nolan and his comment about 2 weeks ago. Ellen and I attended the annual Warren County Tax Commission meeting. It's a requirement, and because of one of the House bills that's going into effect, Mr. Nolan and the other two members, county treasurer and county prosecutor, are the three appointed members per statute, and was really interesting afterwards. So there's a lot of conversation about carryovers, and the differences of cities and townships, and specifically in front of the audience. But when the meeting ended, while everybody was still there, Ellen and I specifically said, we just want to be clear. So we are now expected to, any township, library, and all the other taxing entities are to give the reason if there's any carryover. And Mr. Nolan specifically said of Hamilton Township, the only more than or larger than average fund that Hamilton Township has are the public works funds, and he's well aware of this project that we just talked about. So he said, you don't have any large carryovers in any of your other funds, and I know why you have it in public works. And he said, and this is, I don't know if this was verbatim, but he also acknowledged, he said, for a few years there might have been some thinking that Hamilton Township had, but he said, actually, you're, if not the lowest, you're in the lowest percentage of the townships in Warren County. So there might have been some misnomers to some of that thinking. And my final thought, because I love having discussions like this with residents, is I really want to contrast townships with cities. We do not have an income tax. And I've talked in these meetings before about the difference between inside millage and outside millage. Most of our funds are outside millage. All of our police and fire levy funds are outside. So that means as existing homes, existing commercial buildings increase in value, those old police and fire and some of our other levies don't gain any new revenue. When an existing home is appraised at a higher value, that levy doesn't collect more from that existing home. It's rolled back. Every year that there is a reevaluation of property here, our various outside levies are dialed backwards. The effective millage rate decreases. So, and when I said earlier to contrast us to a city, it's pretty easy budgeting for most cities. All of your residents, you hope, receive, if they have earned income, they receive raises at work, 2, 3, 3.5%. Organically, every year, those cities with income tax see an increase in their income tax collection. That's more like what inside millage is for. So again, all of our police and fire, majority of our levies, because they're outside, a homeowner with an existing home doesn't pay more to an outside mill levy when the county auditor reappraises their home. That's simply how it works. And and what is my point? What's very important for everybody to remember is that's why townships, when a new levy is put in place, they capture value more in year one as compared to maybe what they're in. We have increases in our needs. Our expenses go up like businesses and households do. But our levy's it's not gonna increase its collections. Our costs go up every year by some percentage. So that's why if a police or fire or other levy is put in place, same for schools with outside mills on their operating levies. It seems like they get a lot of money that in year one, but over time, the effective rate of that levy is dialed back. So I know we could talk at length on that. I just think it's really helpful for residents that know that, because that, again, that's a big contrast between a township form of government and other forms of government. But I don't know if it was good or bad to hear Mr. Nolan say, you know what, I think the old thought that Hamilton Township has all these big reserves compared to other townships, quite honestly, I wish it were true, but it's not, and that's from the auditor himself. So thanks for indulging me.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll add just a little bit. I'm sitting here doing some simple back of napkin math. Rusty mentions the $5 million that we got in the bond issuance for the public works. We're going to spend down about $2 million, give or take, depending on how the final project costs. It won't be less than 2, could be more than 2. So that's $7 million that'll be gone in roughly 12 months for that project. We have about $1 million in ARPA money when it came in that we've had for years now, allocated for mounts. We believe we'll be through that first phase and are technically required to spend that money by the end of next year. We have 1.5 million allocated for the ladder truck that we expect delivery of later this year. $1 million of that were ARPA monies that weren't local tax dollars as well. And $500,000 from our reserves to pay cash for that. We're sitting on a six-figure bill for summer repaving that we're getting a balance and disappropriated the rest. Those items are $10 million, and $9 million of that plus is one-time items, the public works, and I get it. I mean, I have a good relationship with Rusty. I respect him coming and always appreciate his comments. The challenge for me, I mean, we'll let Daryl speak to, we have people like Rusty extremely fiscally conservative. The ladder truck and the engine, when I hear comments about finding creative ways to spend money, having a tanker truck in a fire department that the majority of our square mileage is not on public water is a need. We had residents come when we ordered the ladder truck saying, well, don't get a ladder truck, you don't need it, just borrow your neighbors. That's not a viable solution in perpetuity. Some of those neighbors are talking about we're a bigger fire district than. So, I mean, I get it, but I mean, we have a ladder truck that is 20 years old, that we put tens of thousands of dollars in to keep it operational most of the time. And we've been relying on small rural neighbors to show up at structure fires in the non-water service part of the township, or our tanker truck rolls out with water in it, but the pump doesn't work, so we pump it to a 500-gallon tank and an engine to fight a fire. Items like that I would always defend, as those are not wants, they're needs. And in the public works facility, yeah, we have one, it's worked. But like Mr. Rossi talks about, we have two Kwanzaa cuts house out there that I think are from, I don't know if those came about in World War II, Korea. I mean, we have a lean-to that we get a couple $100,000 pieces of equipment between the large plows now and equipment that goes on them. And to borrow Rusty, we have to be creative to find ways to keep them under cover. And I mean, you don't want to have a $200,000 asset sitting outside in the weather, shortening its life. I get it. If you back out $10 million of money that's certainly going to be spent on those items, I think we'll be well under a year. Our police and fire department are now in the part of the cycle where we built some reserves after the passage of new monies, but they're now both spending into the reserves with the goal to get to the end of the decade. And I think we're in a good place that we've been able to plan for some of these things and fund these without asking for additional dollars. And I get it, it's a challenge at times to satisfy both ends of the spectrum of Rusty will give me his thoughts on spending, and I went and spoke in an HOA meeting last night with people that just can't figure out why we can't widen the end of Stryker Road to 2 turn lanes or where it meets Grandin Road, and we have plenty of money. And when you think about the other road infrastructure items we need and how that works, because it intersects, I tried to give them a little bit of how that would work with the county and the likelihood, and they would probably prefer a traffic circle instead, and we may not even be able to do it if we wanted. It's we sign up for it. I mean, we get it, we understand, but that's the dichotomy of trying to satisfy. And I get plenty of people to take me to the task that all the park space we have and we're not improving it. We can't improve it and maintain it with the funding model we have without a park district or a park levy. So I get it, but I think our balance sheet is going to look dramatically different in 15 months. That's all I've got. Thanks, Rusty.
Floor is still open to public comment, so if anybody else would like to speak, I certainly welcome you up at this time. All right, seeing no one else approaching, I will go ahead and close the floor to public comments at 6:34 p.m. Next item on the agenda is Fiscal Officer's Report. Ms. Zelli.
Okay, I'm here to report on the August numbers year-to-date as they've been spent and collected. And one change that you'll see with the report this month, just to make it a little less busy and a little bit more readable, is I did collapse a couple of funds that didn't have a lot of dollar value or didn't have a lot of movement in them into basically subcategories. So the raw data is still there if we need it, but for the purposes of this meeting, I felt like it was fine just to roll those together. So in the general section, which is the blue section, there was 2 very small grant funds and then a miscellaneous fund. So I just categorized those under the miscellaneous grant funds. And then in the public works section, that's the green one, there was 2 license tax funds and the gas tax fund. So I pushed all of those together into the top line there in the green. I did leave the road and bridge fund separate from the road levy fund. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, I believe it's because one of those is inside mill versus outside mill.
You're
So I
correct.
didn't want to muddy the waters there, keeping them on their separate line items. Fire and EMS, I left alone, and then the police section in yellow there was 2 small law enforcement funds that I pushed into one. So just a little bit more summarized than we've seen in the past. So, but if anybody has questions, I still have the raw data available. One other change you'll see is now we have a budget appearing for the Public Works Fund. They're in the last line in green. And then we also have some funding being spent against that fund in the year-to-date expenditure column, $139,000. So those are both moving from last month. Down at the bottom, we are 67% through the year. Revenue is right on track at 69% versus the budget. The year-to-date expenditures, when compared to where we have been this time last year, are noticeably lower, and it's due to the 3% that we're seeing in the large public works facility. So it's bringing the average much lower than it really is. So I didn't calculate it breaking that out, but just know that it's a little lower than it probably should be. And that's all I had for the August numbers.
Follow-up questions come? All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Elliott. Appreciate that. All right. With that, we will move on to the administrator's report. Mr. Wright.
Thank you, Daryl. A couple of items that Mr. Pelfrey and his team want to share is that, first of all, the replacement roof at the Salt Dome, that's a kind of a soft material. It was replaced recently. Unfortunately, we had to use our make an insurance claim. We have installed additional cameras at the Salt Dome and throughout Tesserman Park to assist in identifying vandals. Unfortunately, that structure was the subject of vandalism. Fully aware vandals might not be the residents who watch these meetings, so if you know a local vandal, please share with them that we have more cameras in place and we have some deterrents where we'd be happy to arrest them. Other item from Public Works is that the replacement salt truck that was ordered in 2024 has finally arrived to the upfitting company, and they're going to install the final components so that we'll have it in time for snow season. We've heard our fire department remind us how many years and sometimes it takes when you make an order of a large vehicle to come in. It's amazing to me, and now it's a year and a half on a salt truck. That's just where we're at as a country right now. From our Parks and Rec, Nicole had a few items she wanted to share with you. First of all, the Mounts Park Phase 1 improvement project, the construction bid packets are ready, and we're sending them out in advertising. We have a deadline of October 17th for contractors to submit their bids to the township. Then we're going to review those bids with our engineering consultants, and we anticipate bringing a recommendation back to the board sometime in November to approve a contract for Mounts Park. And last week's Veterans Fish and Float at Mounts had a very nice number, 46 total participants. Also, during last week's Kings High School Volunteer Day, we had 34 Kings High School students volunteer here, and they made a lot of nice physical improvements at our cemeteries. Some of the fire department updates would include that they've implemented a rapid sequence intubation ability now. This was a couple of year-long goal that Chief Jewett and his team had. They've implemented it in concert with our medical director, and it's required significant medical training by the paramedics on the team. And we are now one of only approximately half a dozen or so departments in Southwest Ohio that are able to use that newer life-saving method. Also, shifting to a full-time employee model earlier this year has allowed the minimum of 8 firefighters on most shifts. And when we go to that minimum, we now are enabled to do a cross-staffing of a 3rd ambulance for the township. There was an article in today's Business Courier I shared with a lot of you about an interview of the tournament director of the Kroger Queen City Championship LPGA event that was here last week. The story stated that it was one of the most successful tournaments in the 4-year history. It had the largest attendance, all 4 days of it this year, set attendance record, so that was very positive. I just want to say how much I appreciate the work and cooperation from all the township departments, making that a safe and successful event for the visitors to Hamilton Township. I saw firsthand that we had a lot of police staff there working with their security team, and all of our departments lend a hand, so I appreciate them making that a success. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you. And just, Mr. Wright, just on that, I want to piggyback. I want to thank you and the entire staff. One of the big things this board has pushed over the years is really putting out the identity of Hamilton Township and really promoting that. And I know you did a lot of work and the staff did a lot of work in making sure we were engaging those partners this year and getting that out. And we saw that not only within the media reports and the signs and whatnot, the LPGA put out throughout the township that said, "Welcome to Hamilton Township." So very much appreciated. Like I said, I know that townships sometimes struggle with getting that identity out there and really putting that demarcation down. So I just want to share my appreciation with that
Thanks.
as well.
We appreciate it.
All right, with that, we will move forward with trustee comments. Mr. Sousa.
I don't have much. I just sitting here, I thought of another one or two to piggyback off of the budget and the cash balance conversations. I feel like I speak ad nauseum sometime in the budget process, but it befuddles me, the county, they want all the jurisdictions to be good stewards of tax dollars, but we talk about the budgeting process and how conservative it is. They put us in a position where we budget to get 97% next year of what we got this year, knowing that we're in certainty going to get more money than we got this year. And then we generally internally are conservative with our expenses, and that, I've spoken to that before when we talk about our budgets, that in big businesses, where I work or where Leah works, they're trying to, within tenths of a percentage point, forecast revenues and expenses. In the county, while they want us to be, not have large carryover reserves, we go into a budget knowing that we're going to probably get 10% more revenue than they have us budget. And they do the same thing in their budget too. If you look at the county's budgets, they will far exceed their revenue projections and their expenses. And I've always found, I have heard Matt say that the 6 to 12, we get about roughly 2/3 of our revenue, Leah, is from property taxes, give or take. We get that money twice a year. So there's certain, and it tends to be more, police and fire get very little operating monies outside of the property taxes. There's an EMS billing and fire. But when you get to 6 months and you're getting the overwhelming majority of your revenue, it's 6 months. At a point, if you get to 6 months of balance and you will be, and we're going to get to that point later in the decade, probably in fire and police, but you're going to have very little money when that next tax payment comes in 6 months later. So just a couple more points. I'm sorry to belabor that, but
A quick question. I know this is trustee comments, and I'm not a
no,
trustee.
fire away.
But didn't we challenge Matt on the 97%? And
We were told at a point that he'd made some progress and it would go to 100, and then that went away.
okay,
And I've asked him about it again, and I don't know if it's something that we need to try to exert some, I don't know why they wouldn't allow. I get there's jurisdictions that are probably stagnant and don't grow, but then you have enough history here. I mean, the number of years that we've been the #1 new housing start in Southwest Ohio since 2000. Let each jurisdiction do their, you have good people in place locally here and at the county. I don't know why they have to have a hard and fast rule to each jurisdiction to stick to. Why they wouldn't tell another jurisdiction, hey, budget the 97% or 100%. If we want to budget 103% or whatever. And maybe that's something we need to put our heads together and go back and.
is that a Warren County rule?
I'm guessing there's some probably uniformity. they want it to be uniform, my guess is, in that office. That way, when they evaluate everybody's budget, that way they kind of start from the same starting point of, because we do it the same way.
Yeah,
In Franklin Township, it's the same kind of.
Yeah.
kind
And
of
I don't know their
calculations.
motivation behind it. I don't know if it's that helps a model of being good from a balance sheet standpoint. You know, I've had conversations about it with Matt. I've never spoken about it with Martin or a commissioner, but maybe it's time to have some more conversations about it. Because it does. I mean, it's, you know, people tend to look at our budget more when we've had this conversation, or I've had it with you, like Rusty's of the world will look at our budget more when we make the budget. And when we make the budget, you know, we have a revenue number here and a spending number here, and we beat our revenue and we beat our expenses. But we started talking about, you know, doing like a state of the union of the budget after the fact, because generally we outperform, you know, last year we budgeted, we would have had a deficit across the board. In actuality, we put money away. And that conservative budgeting model kind of forces your hand at that.
Right.
I would love to be able to forecast better, and, you know, we have a conservative budget, but then like police and fire, we're working with department heads to figure out how do you get to the end of the decade with money you have, and it's a different budget and forecast than the ones that we're working with the county.
So one other thought I had, and I don't even know if this is possible, but if we went through the exercise of saying, roll back X amount, how does that impact an average household in our township?
Right.
Is there a way to connect the dots so that we can see the impact of the decision of a rollback?
I mean, I'm sure Matt Nolan in his office could probably do the calculations and tell you. I mean, I know that was done in this township back in 2015, and then we ended up needing to run a levy in 2019 to go back and pay for the new fire station and whatnot. But yeah, I'm sure it's something that could be done, that his office, because they'll do it all the time when we ask them. I know when other entities, they go, hey, we would like to know if we run X levy, and we did this in 2019 when we ran the levies, if we ran a levy for 1 mil, how much of an increase is that? And they'll do the calculation and tell you exactly dollar amount and break it down per 100,000. So I'm sure they can reverse engineer that.
Yeah.
I mean, to that example, when that previous board gave a mill back in the fire issue, today, after the newest valuations, Jeff and I were looking at a TIF projection recently, and the millage in Hamilton Township right now, total millage, all parties, I think is 52 and change. And when that rollback happened, millage was in the 60s, and the township gave back a mill. So that mill represented about a 1.5% savings in the totality of I think that's where you're going. If you
Yeah,
were to
it's
look
just
at
the impact.
what would the trickle down of that
Yeah.
be? And then, you know, so our tax bill, I think, is the township share of the Hamilton Township residents' property tax bill right now. I want to say we're about 17-18%. The school's like 66 or 70, and the remainder is the county. Police and fire are spending more than they're taking in the majority of our budget. You know, so it's a small number of your total. A lot of residents are surprised when I have that conversation. They think that more of their taxes are going to the township for services than are. A lot of people don't realize that as much goes to the, people just look at their total tax bill. They very rarely look at the breakdown of the different components of it. But I'm happy to have any of those conversations with anyone, reach out to Matt or ask him the way to go about it. But, you know, I think the lowest, I've looked once back like 20 years, and I think the lowest revenue increase we've seen year over year, like since 2000, is like 3%. So,
Yeah,
you know, we budget, so that is 103%, and we budget 97.
right. Yeah. That's
Okay.
all I had.
All right. I'm going to ask for some indulgence tonight and go in a little bit different direction. I feel like if I don't address this, I'd be disingenuous to myself, to who I am, and to my proclamation as Jesus is my Lord and Savior. This past week definitely has been hard for our nation. It's been hard for me as a family, as a father of 2 boys that are getting more and more involved in politics, and definitely the assassination of Charlie Cook just rocked many of us to our core. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine this week trying to really figure out, like, kind of what was this like? What can we equate this to? Because quite frankly, this is nothing that I've ever been through in my lifetime. I was born in the late 70s. You know, I don't remember the Reagan getting attempted assassination, and I just can't equate that to anything. And I kind of went back to maybe this is exactly how my parents and grandparents felt when JFK was assassinated, when Robert Kennedy was assassinated, when Martin Luther King was assassinated, a lot of those same feelings. And I just want to send my condolences to the Kirk family. They lost a father, a friend, a husband, and I just can't imagine going through that. But just the way I think Charlie connected with our youth, I think, is just so admirable. He did the Lord's work. He was going into college campuses, into hostile areas, and engaging in conversation, engaging in discourse the right way, standing firm on his values, standing firm on what he believed in, but doing it in a civil manner, which is something we've completely lost in this country. And no matter where you stand on the political issues, Charlie went there to have that civil discourse and to proclaim his faith. And it's just something that's admirable, something that has just convicted me over time. And we had that conversation as a family with my boys of what it means to die for what you believe in, to pay that ultimate price because of not only your political beliefs but your faith. He said in an interview once that what he wanted most to be remembered for was his faith, and I have no doubt that he will. And the irony is, and I'll wrap up with this, is it's not ironic, but the banner they had on the canopy, the saying they had of the canopy was a proclamation, and it's something so profound, and that's just what I'm going to end with tonight, is that Jesus is Lord, prove me wrong. So with that, I will make a motion to adjourn at 6:51 p.m.
Second.
Mr. Cordray?
Yes.
Mr. Sousa?
Yes.
All right, we are adjourned.